Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Happy to be again.
Push it down. Press it down. Press it down.
Press it down.
Press it down.
Yeah.
Max, can you just
Yeah. Good. Jaya Radha Madhava Tumya Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Tumya Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava I will be reading from the Bhagavad Gita as it is, chapter 6, verse 43. That, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Tattvatam Buddhisam Yogam
Tattvatam Buddhisam Yogam
Labhate Pavadekam
Lavate Bhavadekam
Yatate Satato Bhuya
Yatate Satato Bhuya
Samsita Konandana Tattvatam Buddhisam Yogam
Tattvatam Buddhisam Yogam
Labhate Pavadekam
Lavate Bhavadekam
Yatate Satato Bhuya
Yatate Satato Bhuya
Samsita Konandana
Samsidha Purnandana
Tattvatam Buddhisam Yogam
Tattvatam Buddhisam Yogam
Labhate Pavadekam
Lavate Bhavadekam
Yatate
yatate chato bhuya,
samsita kavanandana,
samsidhau gurunandana,
Tatratam buddhi samyogam,
tatratam buddhi samyogam,
labhate paurvadehikam,
labhate paurvadehikam,
yatate chatato bhuyaha,
yatate chato bhuya,
samsiddhau gurunandana,
samsidhau gurunandana,
Tatratam buddhi samyogam,
tatratam buddhi samyogam,
labhate paurvadehinam,
labhate paurvadehikam,
yatate chatato bhuya,
yatate chato bhuya,
samsidha kurunandana,
samsidhau gurunandana.
Tatratam buddhi samyogam,
Tatratam buddhi samyogam,
labhate paurvadehikam,
tatrate paurvadehikam,
yatate chatato bhuya,
yatate chato bhuya,
samsidhau gurunandana,
samsidhau gurunandana.
Tatratam buddhi samyogam,
Tatratam buddhi samyogam,
labhate paurvadehikam,
labhate paurvadehikam,
yatate chatato bhuya,
yatate chato bhuya,
samsidhau gurunandana,
samsidhau gurunandana.
Prabhava translation. Tatra,
Tatra,
thereupon,
thereupon,
tam,
that,
that, buddhi,
buddhi,
samyogam,
samyogam,
revival of consciousness,
revival of consciousness,
labhate,
labhate,
gains, paurvadehikam,
paurvadehikam,
from the previous body,
from the previous body,
yatate,
yatate,
he endeavors,
he endeavors, cha, also, tataha, thereafter, bhuyaha, again,
samsidhau,
samsidhau,
for perfection,
for perfection,
Gurunandana,
Gurunandana,
O son of God. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki
Jai.
On taking such a birth, he revives the divine consciousness of his previous life, and he again tries to make further progress in order to achieve complete success, O son of God. The commentary. King Bharat, who took his third birth in the family of a good Brahmin, is an example of good birth for the revival of previous transcendental consciousness. King Bharat was the emperor of the world, and since his time this planet has been known among the demigods as Bharat Varsha. Formerly it was known as Ilavrita Varsha. The emperor, at an early age, retired for spiritual perfection, but failed to achieve success. In his next life he took birth in the family of a good Brahmin and was known as Jal Bharat because he always remained secluded and did not talk to anyone. And later on he was discovered as the greatest transcendentalist by King Rahugana. From his life it is understood that transcendental endeavors or the practice of yoga never go in vain. By the grace of the Lord, the transcendentalists get repeated opportunities for complete perfection in Krishna consciousness. Verse again, Tatra tam buddhi samyokam labhate paurvadehikam yatate sadato buddha samsidhau gurunandana. On taking such a birth, he revives the divine consciousness of his previous life, and he again tries to make further progress in order to achieve complete success. O son of God. Om Ajnana Timanasya Jnana Chakshunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Shri Chaitanya Navishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swami Rupadanam Dadani Svavadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Rupadanam Shri Guru Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sarvatam Saganagnatam Vitantam Sajivam Sadvaitam Sadhutam Prijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Saganadita Shri Vishakamitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Lokakanta Radhakanta Namostute Taptakanja Orangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishvanuchite Devi Pranamami Harikre Kalpanka Kalpasha Kripa Sindhuesha
Padidana
Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Prasarine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Vasudhaya Sapari Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. So, I have a question to you all. Who of you ever made jigsaw puzzles? You know what a jigsaw puzzle is? 1,000 pieces? Yeah? Okay. That, my question is, what technique do you use? How do you start the puzzle?
Do the edges first.
First edges, the corners, and then
And then group by color and
by color.
pattern,
Okay.
common pattern.
That, any other techniques? That I used to use. Of course, I did also these things, sorting and corners. But I used also another technique. But when you get a puzzle, you get a box, and on the box there is a picture. And then you take the jigsaw puzzle piece, and you see where it fits in. That's it. So then from then you see how it fits in the big picture, right?
Mhm.
So similarly, this light is a small piece of a big picture. That, but what's the problem with the people of this age? 1:10 Srimad Bhagavatam Prayanopayusa Sabhikala Rasmin Surena Sanama Mandasamana Matiyam Mandabhagyu. They are, the verse says they are short-sighted. Short-sighted. I'm short-sighted. That means short-sighted, you see, from close by you see good. But far away becomes all short-sighted.
Nearsighted.
Does it mean that short-sighted?
Nearsighted, it's usually called.
Nearsighted.
Yeah.
Nearsighted. It means that they see the moment. I'm enjoying now, but they don't see where they come from. They don't know where they go. That nearsighted. Yes, most people in this age are like that. Many times I speak with people of different religions and I ask them, according to your religion, what happened before your birth? what happens after you die. Very different answers, very unclear many times. But Bhagavad Gita gives a lot of details here, what happens. You see in the stories of the Bhagavatam that we see Hiranyakashipu. We think it's a big demon, but factually it's Jai, one of the gatekeepers of Vaikuntha. But we see the moment, we think it's a big demon, but he plays the role of a demon. He's factually a devotee playing the role of a demon. We have also Vitrasur, externally a demon, internally a pure devotee. And so where do we come from? Where do we go? We have here the example of Bharat Maharaj. Bharat Maharaj went through 3 successive lives. And he progressed in Krishna consciousness through these 3 lives. Srila Goswami says that the process of devotional service is a process that goes over many lifetimes. So, Srila Prabhupada said many things on this matter. He said, yes, we are devotees because you were devotees in previous life. But it said also other things. In the Bhagavatam it is said that one who chants the holy name of Krishna, or of the Supreme Lord, has performed in his previous life all sacrifices, studies all the Vedas, and so on. Interesting. But the Buddha asked Prabhupada, and he quoted this verse and said, Prabhupada, did we really do these things in our previous life? Prabhupada replied, don't worry about it, I did that for you. So that means the mercy of a pure devotee is extraordinary. Krishna empowers his pure devotee to give mercy. This is very special. Actions of a pure devotee is difficult to understand for us. Like Prahlad Maharaj, Hiranyakashipu asked, where is your God? Is he in the pillar? And Prahlad Maharaj said, yes, he's in the pillar. And Prabhupada is in the purple. Therefore, to make Prahlad's words true, the Lord had to appear from the pillar to make his words true. Srila Prabhupada had a talk with Allen Ginsberg, and they spoke about the 12th canto of the Bhagavatam. 12th canto is about, what's 12th canto about?
Kali Yuga.
Kali Yuga. All the symptoms of Kali Yuga are described there. And after describing that, Allen Ginsberg said to Prabhupada, and what with your disciples? That will they be still? Because he just described the situation at the end of Kali Yuga, which is the worst. And Allen Ginsberg asked, and what with your disciples? Will they still be around? Prabhupada said, no, they will go back home to God in this life. So that's our hope, that Prabhupada said that also he gave a lecture in 1976 in New Mayapur in France. So in New Mayapur, I've been 6 years the legal director there in France. I speak French also. And Prabhupada has given two Bhagavatam lectures in New Mayapur. And they framed it. You can, on the property, you can read these lectures. And in one of these lectures he said, I promise you, if you chant 16 rounds of the Hare Krishna mantra, and you follow the four related principles, I promise you will go back to God. So that's our hope, these promises of Prabhupada and His mercy. Because in our movement, the mercy comes to Prabhupada. All the mercy. So Prabhupada was empowered. This is in the Chaitanya Mandal from Lokshandas Thakur. There it is mentioned that Lord Chaitanya would send its Senapati Bhakta, his expert field commander, to spread Krishna consciousness all over the world. That's in the scriptures, Chaitanya. And who did that? Prabhupada did that. So he is the Senapati Bhakta, the empowered devotee by Lord Chaitanya, that he spread Krishna consciousness all over the world. And whatever we are in this movement, all the gurus in ISKCON, they are just representing Prabhupada. They are representing Prabhupada and helping us to understand Prabhupada's teachings and how to practice them. But the mercy is coming to Prabhupada. That this movement, ISKCON, is his body. And factually, Prabhupada is still the real preacher in ISKCON. That he's preaching because ISKCON is his body. If we keep his body healthy, then Prabhupada can continue preaching to this body for thousands of years. That as we go out, we distribute his books. What will our 2 minutes preaching do? Not much. But we give Prabhupada his books, and they read his books, then they get the mercy of Prabhupada. At least that is more than nearly 40 years ago, that's how I became the devotee. Prabhupada's books. And this is very important, that we may spend many lifetimes in devotional service, but by the mercy of Prabhupada, we can go back to God in this life, if we really want. His mercy is available. His mercy we get by pleasing Prabhupada and helping him in his mission. That when I was at the Bhakti Manor in London, that is 2018, And I was there with my spiritual master, Bhakti Maharaj. And he was going to give initiation of some of my Bhakti Shastri graduates. And he wanted me to speak to them in the temple room. It's very embarrassing. You sit beside your spiritual master asks to speak. So what do you do? What do you do?
You speak.
No, but I spoke, but before I spoke I asked him blessings, please bless me. And that, when I asked him for blessings, he said no. And he pointed to the deity of Prabhupada. That's where the mercy comes from. So I took great quote. I remember that always. That so this is important that that we realize that Prabhupada is really the flow of mercy in this movement, and that you see here Bharat Maharaj, he went to different lifetimes. Many people may say yes, maybe there was a previous lifetime. That well, are we convinced there is a previous lifetime? What would be the arguments to convince us? That
People have different tendencies. Welcome, child.
well, yeah, we are different tendencies. Yes,
We're born into different situations.
in different situations, and what's the explanation for that?
Karma.
Karma. That activities in previous lives. A philosopher said that if God allows all these differences, one is starving in the Sahel from birth, and the other in a very rich position. If God allows such difference, God must be a monster. That was his conclusion. But that is only seeing the moment and not seeing the bigger picture. Where do we come from? That, so karma explains why and I didn't find a better explanation for this. That for our present situation, it must be karma, our own activities in previous lives. That explains the differences. That's one thing, but that brings up the point. From one life to another, what do we take with us? What do we take with us?
Our mind.
Our mind, subtle body, yeah? That,
Reactions to all our previous activities.
reactions to previous activities, okay?
Our desires.
Desires,
Any devotional service we perform?
devotional service, yeah? And Krishna says, but whatever progress we make in devotional service is no diminution, that, and it's never lost. That, okay, yeah. A lot of things are here, that, but interesting, let's speak first about what we take, the Krishna consciousness that we take with us. That, like what is meant with that? What do we take with us really in Krishna consciousness from the previous life? It is mentioned in this purport in the second chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. If we make 2% Krishna consciousness progress, next life we start with 2%. But what do we take with us?
Our realizations.
Realizations. That means you have Jnana and you have Vijnana. Jnana is theoretical knowledge. Theoretical knowledge. I'm not his body. That's nice to know. But Vijnana is the realization of this knowledge. How in this life we get Vijnana? What do we need to do? Who gives Vijnana? Guru?
Paramatma.
Paramatma? Yeah? It's a cooperation that we sing every day. Divya Rite Bokasita. Divya Gyan, realized knowledge. Rite Bokasita appears in the heart. It appears in the heart. Who gives us this realization in the heart? Dadami Buddhyoganta, Krishna says. Kesam Satyutnam Vacham Vidavotam Dadami Buddhyogantam Yenamam. It comes, Krishna gives you realization. How does he give realization? Desham, Evanakampatam, Amanakyan, Chantama, Nasachama, Pavastu, Kantiprana Pashvata. He gives this to the heart. He removes our ignorance and our not our Krishna consciousness comes gradually manifest. Brahma put it in the same way. He did devotional tapasya for many celestial years. And Teni Brahma Hridaya Avikaveri, he got it to the heart. But Krishna gives it just to the heart. Why? Krishna says, Priti Prabhava. But we don't have this love. Therefore, it's a cooperation between the spiritual master and Krishna. That cooperation is explained in the Bhagavatam also. Sussu Shadadanasya Vasudeva Gatavuchisya Natsi Vyavipra Punyatirtani Shivana. Yes, I've sung Krishna Prabhupada.
By serving great souls, great service is done, and one gets the taste for hearing about the glories of the Lord.
Yeah, more or less. By hearing Shadadanasya. Shada means faith, but Prabhupada is still translated as faith. He said, hearing with care and attention. And serving the Mahatma, the spiritual master. By this combination, you get taste for devotional service. But taste comes from purification of the heart. So that combination of hearing with attention and serving the spiritual master purifies the heart. you get taste. And Krishna confirms us, Shimvatas Bhagata Krishna Punya Shyamya Naratyam Tataya Bhatanya Vidusam Viduneti Sursata. So that means realization. What is meant with realization? Can someone give me an example of realization in your life that you get realized knowledge? I've been asked to make it interactive, so I'm trying my best. So please, what is an example?
We're not this body.
Yeah, that may be theoretical. What do you do when you are not in the body?
You want to attach to the body?
Yeah, you are less attached to the body. Good example. And less attached. And you become more attached to Krishna. Yes. I give you an example of my own life. 35 years ago, when I started with Krishna consciousness, a devotee would come to me and would say something which is not so nice, and I would feel disturbed, sometimes for weeks, for months, for years. Now we are 35 years later. If a devotee comes to me and says something's not so nice, I will still be disturbed. For a few minutes, and then I will go. That is my realization, that after so many years, any other example of realization?
I'd like to share.
Yeah?
Like, what happens is that whenever, I'll say exactly like you said, Maharaj. You said that, like, you know, if anything happens to me when I was not in Krishna consciousness, I would say that why it's happening to me, why God is doing this to me, right? But when later on, as I read scriptures and association of devotees and everything, I realized that whatever happens to me, it is my own karma. That's first thing, and secondly, it's coming like in a very small form, and I should just not. And Krishna is not to be blamed at all. Nowhere, not even 1%. The blame is totally on me. So then I have no one to blame. So then I'm like, after some time, I'm okay. Yeah.
That is interesting. Thank you for sharing that. That is an instruction Bhakti Maharaj gave to me when I was in great difficulty. I will not go in that difficulty, but he gave me the instruction, whatever happens in your life, good or bad, see it as the mercy of Krishna. It's not easy. That because we hear that we may go through so much suffering. One reason to look at it as you say, that's the first Tatin Kampansis Mixnano. Yeah, okay. It's due to my past misdeeds. That's fine. And Krishna is so kind, he gives me only a token of the suffering, not much. But that's also kind. But there are many other reasons in the lifetime I found why Krishna gives us suffering. Can someone give other reasons?
To help us detach from material life.
Please?
Help us detach from material life.
He helps us to detach us from material enjoyment. Yeah?
One of my Guru Maharaj said a couple of times in a lecture is that whenever you're given hardship or any suffering in the material world, it's a way to remind you that the material world is not a good place to be in. It's a reminder that you're in the material world, don't get too attached to it. So otherwise, if it's everything is constantly good, you maintain like your life, everything's fine, there's no suffering, you don't feel the necessity or the need to get out.
Also, to show the glorious character of devotee, but Prahlad Maharaj was put into so much difficulty, so much torture, but he remained completely transcendental. This illuminated his character.
Yeah, to use him as example and example and to glorify him. Yeah. Sure. Hold it. No?
Yeah, you might.
Also, as Queen Kunti says in her prayers, I don't remember some sure of the translation. It says, "I wish that all those calamities will happen again and again, so we can see you again and again. And seeing you means that we will no longer see repeat births again."
Yeah, because then she remembers Krishna, and when she remembers Krishna, there's no suffering anymore. So that's a very good point. It's easy to practice in Kali Yuga. In Kali Yuga, you don't have to pray for suffering. They come on, that's for sure. We heard different reasons. Of course, Krishna gives us also suffering to detach us, to purify us. That's for sure. It is said in the scriptures, even if the devotees are free from karma, their karma is completely gone, it still gives them suffering. Can someone explain why?
So they can cry out for Krishna with more desperation.
Okay, that's maybe one reason. Yeah. Cry out for Krishna.
So Maharaj, like normally when you're in trouble, then you say, when you're in some kind of a trouble, then only you say, "Oh God." If you're happy, then you're just happy and you're in this material world.
Yeah, that's
You only remember even general people God when you're unhappy.
the danger of being in the mood of goodness. Everything is nice. Very good. But there's another reason Krishna gives, and that's mentioned already, that even if we are free from karma, Krishna gives us some suffering to make sure that we should not become attracted again, as a vaccine. Interesting. But this is important for us to advance in devotional service, understanding that Krishna is all good. Whatever he does is all good. That's very important. And therefore, that's explained in the 7th canto, in the 1st chapter there. That where the question is, Sisupal, he was blaspheming Krishna 100 times. and Krishna gave him liberation, killed him with his chakra. But King Vena, who was also blaspheming the Lord, he was sent to hell. So why that difference? Can someone explain the difference? Who knows the Bhagavatam? Bhagavatam knows.
Because Shiva was killed by Krishna.
Shishpa was killed by Krishna. That's what Action Krishna proposes. Any other proposals? That why was King Venu sent to hell and got Shishupal liberation? I tell you, Shishupal was always thinking of Krishna, unfavorably, but he was always thinking of Krishna, and by that he was purified. Kamsa also, he was always thinking of Krishna, out of fear. One time that Kamsa came before his queens, and he was so absorbed in Krishna that he saw them as Krishna and Balaram. And he was going to take his sword. And the queen said, "Oh, cool down, Kamsa, we are your wives." He was so absorbed but then at the other side, King Vena, he was an atheist. He was not thinking of Krishna. He was just a sinful person who was going to hell. That's the difference. So if we think of Krishna, one way or another we become purified. But it's not that we should become thinking of Krishna as our enemy. No. Anukulena Krishna, Swami said, one must favorably serve Krishna. Because Shishupal got liberation, but liberation is not the ultimate destination. It's a stage in devotional service. From Tasnishta, from there you must go to Shakti, Paramatma realization, and then Prema. That it's just a stage, always merciful, but there's a difference between liberation and self-realization. Two different things. So we clarified Krishna is all good, that seeing everything in your life as a mercy of Krishna. Is that story of this king. I don't remember the details, well, the story more or less. The king had a Vaishnava minister. One day the king was going on hunting exercise. He was hunting, and he was using his bow, and he did a wrong movement, and a piece of his finger was cut off. And he came home and he asked his first minister, who was a Vaishnava, said, "Why did that happen to me?" And the Vaishnava minister said, "It's Krishna Kripa, the mercy of Krishna." And the king became angry. "Krishna Kripa? You are laughing with me? I throw you in jail." It throw him in jail. He said, "I will send you to jail." And the Vaishnava minister said, "That's also Krishna Kripa." And he was in jail. And then a few weeks later, the king went hunting again with a new minister. And during the hunting, they were captured by a dacoit. And they were worshippers of goddess Durga, and they were offering regularly. They were offering humans to the goddess. They captured the king, and the king was prepared to be offered. So they were bathing him, and a nice dress and perfuming to be offered. A man offered to the goddess. And then the head priest came to inspect the offering. And he said, "Oh, he's missing a part of his finger. It's unofferable. We cannot offer him. Throw him out." And instead they offered this minister. And somewhere or other he escaped, and he went back to the palace, and he remembered the words of his Vaishnava minister. And he said, who said, you lost a part of your fear. It was Krishna's mercy, Krishna Kripa. And he understood now, this is Krishna's mercy that I survived. So, and he got the minister from the jail and told him what happens, and he said, and the king said, now I understand, but there's one thing I don't understand. When I threw you in jail, you said also it's Krishna Kripa. Well, the minister said, the Vaishnava minister said, yes, because otherwise I would have gone with hunting with you. And you were unofferable, but so they would offer me instead. So many times we think we understand the situation, but always deeper grounds. Nothing happens without assumption of Krishna. Always that is in this life we get our karma, and nothing happens by chance. Chance does not exist. There's always an exact reason why things happen in your life. It's very precise. You see also John Bharat here, because Prabhupada said that Bharatvarsha, this planet was called Bharatvarsha. That no, you can't say India anymore, it's Bharat. Bharat, right? That, so yes, that. And Bachad Bharat went to different lives. In the first life, because Chad Bharat, he was, the father of all the Indians, let's say, in Bharat. That, so Chad Bharat, he followed the Vedic system, and when he was about old enough, his son was old enough to be put on the throne. Then he took Vanaprastha, went to the forest to perform devotional meditation, and he became quite advanced. He became advanced to the point that he had nearly developed love of God. And it's said he attained the stage of Baba. And from that stage, normally you don't come down. But we know that Chad Bharat became attracted to a deer, a helpless deer. That and he started to take care of the deer. That became attached to the deer. He was walking always with the deer, was playing with the deer. That what was so at the time of when the time of death came, the deer was not there, and he was worried in his mind about the deer. And he became a deer in his next life. It's interesting. So what was the error that Bharat Maharaj made? Yes.
So he was not in devotee association. He was in the kind of a remote place where he didn't have association, and he was doing the devotional services on his own. if some devotee was there with him, maybe he could have guided him in a better way.
Yeah, so he missed association of devotees, that's our safety. My Gurumats always explains, you have different sticks. You have one small stick, easy to break. Maya will get you when you are alone. Maya is very strong. But when we are in the association of devotees, many sticks together, you can break. Maya can touch us. So that's a very important point. But the main point, of course they are related, but the main point is another point. What was that?
Distraction.
Attachment, destruction. We can become attracted and so on, but as long as we follow our sadhana, we chant 16 rounds, we follow the principles, that we are protected. We are protected by this sadhana bhakti. But Jad Bharat was neglecting his spiritual practice. That's the point. It went all to the deer. Because he had his own sadhana, his own meditation, but he became attracted again. Because he was a Kshatriya. Kshatriya means giving protection. Giving protection. That protecting, in things is Kshatriya or something. Protecting one from being hurt. So, a Kshatriya gives shelter to others. And that was his nature, its material nature, and its material nature came up again. I have to protect this deer. And he neglected his sadhana. So that's an important point. Also Bhishma Dev, when he was leaving this world, he was lying on a bed of arrows, and Krishna wanted him to instruct Yudhishthira Maharaj, who had doubts. And an interesting point he's making, he says to Yudhishthira Maharaj, as long as you follow the religious principles, and you follow the orders of the Brahmins, you will be protected by these religious principles and the Brahmins. So as long as we follow Prabhupada's instructions, we have a good sadhana, that we chant our rounds, and we chant, we follow the principles, we hear Bhagavatam, we do our best, we will be protected by this. That's our protection. And he lost his protection. So never give up our sadhana, always stay fixed. We may go up and down, We are on a boat, the boat is going up and down. One day we are here, the next day we are there because consciousness is going down, up, down. That's the material world. But the up-down movement should gradually go up, down. So yes, but as long as we follow this sadhana, we are protected. But Krishna also protected Bharat, because he protected his consciousness. In his next life, he was a deer, but he had not the consciousness of a deer. And he remembered his previous life. This is Krishna. You become a devotee. Ananya Sintiyantamam Yechana Prayapasti Tesam Nitya Vyuktam Yogisemahatam. Krishna, protect the Krishna consciousness that you have attained, and gives you more opportunity to purify you further. And this was an opportunity. He was in the body of a deer and went back to the ashram, and when the time was leaving the body, he became Jad Bharat. Next life. That interesting. We see things in this world as a moment, but if you see that as a sequence of life, that the vision becomes different. You get a bigger picture. That so whatever realization we have, we take with us. Also, the material tendencies we take with us. If you have memorized Bhagavad Gita in your previous life, this life will be more easy. Because in your subconscious, this is still there. Still there, it will go quick. That we see sometimes wonder childs. They are 5-6 years old and they are musical. They have a musical talent with adults we cannot attain. It's coming from their previous lives. So there's a succession in these things. Nothing happens without any reason in this life. Yeah. And then he became Jad Bharat. And he understood all these relationships with so-called family. It's just an entitlement. Unless your parents and your family are Vaishnavas, not much beneficial on the spiritual platform at least. It's not that we don't have to respect our parents and so on. That's another thing. But if I show Akshan Krishna Prabhu a picture of his previous life and he's a woman, and I'm showing you a picture of him as a woman with 10 sons. What do you think? Does it make sense to you? No. It's all meaningless. It's gone. And he was afraid to become to become entangled again in this. And his father was a Paka Brahman, and he was trying to learn him all the Brahmanical principles that and Jad Bharat, she every time did just the opposite. And his father became so frustrated. He gave it up, was too much, and they gave him a job to watch over a field that where they were cultivating crops, so that the animals would not come and eat it. He would guard it, so called. Anyway, but internally he was fixed on Krishna. He understood. He was living inside Krishna. And that's Krishna consciousness. Prabhupada says in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna consciousness means following the dictations of Krishna within. Living constantly in a relationship with Krishna. Kadambakana Maharaj, he gave a few years ago, just the year before he was passing away, he spoke to the sannyas candidates. I'm since 15 years a member of the sannyas ministry. But he gave a presentation to the sannyas candidates and said, sannyas means living in a constant relationship with Krishna. Very beautiful. So that kind of sannyas we have all to take. Living in a relationship with Krishna. And that was Jad Bharat. Constantly was living in a relationship with Krishna within. And the external world was. He became an Uttam Adhikar in his third life. So that shows the progression of Krishna consciousness. But it is important that we improve or that we cultivate a sincerity to make progress in devotional service. And that means we have to know on which level we are and how to get to the next level. It's a progression that how do we progress in anartha nivritti? What are the conditions to purify our heart? What does the scripture say? What is needed to progress? Nityam Bhagavata Sevya, that's always serving Krishna. Nice. But how do you know you are in anartha nivritti? How do you know your heart is purified? What's the symptom? We mentioned it already.
Think about Krishna.
That is a very high platform. But if we can do that always, that if you always think of Krishna, you are at nishta. Your anartha nivritti is finished. But Maya will not do you. Will not allow this. Will not allow this. If we are not pure. But how do you know you are in anartha nivritti? My heart is becoming purified.
Reduction of lust.
Desires change.
Positive. What's a positive sign?
You gain more attraction to the holy name.
Taste increases. One first point. Your taste increases. If your taste increases, you are making progress. That as anarthas go, the taste increases. Yes. Something else?
The more attentive.
That hopefully.
So we want to read Srila Prabhupada books whenever we get time.
Yeah, that's also taste. And it's not so difficult. You become more happy. That one who is advancing in devotion service is happy. That's not a very difficult thing. That, but if we are not, if we don't have taste and we don't feel really happy, well, what's the cause? Why is that not happening?
Anarthas are increasing. Anarthas are increasing probably.
Well, yeah, anarthas are still there, yeah, but
They're not following.
please.
They're not following what we're supposed to do.
So propose. I'm in Bhajana Kriya. Bhajana Kriya has 2 stages. Bhajana Kriya means the performing devotional service. The stages before are sadhu sangha. By association of devotees, you learn of the spiritual master of devotees how to perform devotional service. Bhajana Kriya. Bhajana Kriya has 2 stages. Nishtita, anishtita. Anishtita and nishtita. Anishtita is not steady in your devotional service. Sometimes you chant 16 rounds, sometimes 12. And there are 6 symptoms of anishtita that Madhura Kanambini, but no need to go in that, that's too detailed. But suppose you overcome that and you become nishtita. You are studying your devotional service. You are chanting 16 rounds, you are following the principles, you are reading the Bhagavatam every day, you do some seva, You are steady. Is your heart becoming purified? Are you in anachtanivritti? Is your heart becoming purified?
Yes.
Hopefully.
Hopefully.
Yes. Yes.
Probably yes, but it may also be not. What is the problem? What is the inner attitude to chant? Vinam kapishnashna, ora vishishna, amana manadinam, kirtanya sadagari, nadanam ajana, sundarim kaptavashi sikami, mamam shamami chamamishve, bhaktavaktya hadikri. The proper inner attitude is that one should be more humble than a straw in the street, more tolerant on a tree, devoid of all respect for oneself and give all respect to others. In that state of mind, one can chant the holy name constantly. One should not want wealth, not want followers, not want a relationship with the opposite sex. One should only want to serve Krishna, birth after birth, even no liberation. That is the right mood. If you have that right mood, and you chant, and you are steady in your devotional service, then the purification starts. If you don't have that right mood, your chanting is offensive. The right mood is important. That Haridas Thakur calls the right mood chanting with some bandhagyan. Chanting with the right mood of a devotee, a servant of Krishna. That you can chant and practice, you can chant Hare Krishna, and you can do all these things, but internally you want to be the master and exploit others and so on. And then one does not enter anartha-nivritti. Haridas Thakur says in Harinam Chintamani, Harinam Chintamani is written by Srila Bhakti Thakur in the form of a dialogue between Lord Chaitanya and Haridas Thakur. And Haridas Thakur said that one who is situated in, one who chants Namabhas. Namabhas is chanting with the right mood, with some bandhagyan, is chanting with this mood, Trinada Vishnisna, Tara Vishnisna, with this mood. Then the heart becomes purified. If we don't have this mood, we are not yet a kanista, not yet a beginner. I've seen many times that 30 years ago, I was with the brahmacharis, and there were brahmacharis who they would not even look at a woman. They were the first to marry. But some of these brahmacharis, they did book disciplines, they did all these things, and then they left the movement. Because they didn't have taste. What's wrong? Taste means the inner attitude remained offensive. In the beginning, when we chant, we have a period of offensive chanting. And we have to come to Namabhas of anartha-nivritti. And therefore, to come to this Namabhas, you must give up the 10 offenses against the holy name. So, that means when we are in Nishtita Bhakti, we are situated rightly, and we do everything nice, but we should also give up these 10 offenses, and then you come to anartha-nivritti. It's just a misconception that have many. They think I'm just chanting Hare Krishna and follow the regulative principles and I will become purified. Yes, you will become purified, but it goes very slow. Just a few anahtas. And it takes a time. But when you have the right inner attitude, you give up these offenses. And what must you do to give up these offenses, this offensive mentality? Ashan Krishna, what should we do to give up these offenses?
Chant attentively and serve the Vaishnavas.
Not sufficient. No,
Obtain the mercy of the spiritual master.
that's essential. But most important, because both things have to be there, of course, but we have to hear the Bhagavatam. If we hear the Bhagavatam explains us how to come to Sambandha Jnana, how to cultivate this proper attitude. So chant, do service, but hear the Bhagavatam every day. And Bhagavatam, please, then you will make spiritual advance. Much more to say about that. I tried to say something. I hope it makes sense. Any comments or questions? Yes.
So Maharaj, I've tried to do a little service here and there in this lifetime, and according to this verse, well, there's always next life, so there's no rush, right? I mean, I have some things I want to finish in this mature world.
No.
No?
Disagree. That Prabhupada said it's when Prabhupada met his spiritual master, he said the same thing. That because the spiritual master said, you are a young man and you should, you are educated, you should spread the message of Lord Chaitanya. And Prabhupada said, no, because he was a follower of Gandhi. He said, no, because India is still dependent on the British. We first need independence, because otherwise, who will hear us? But Bhakti Saraswati Maharaj said, no, it's urgent. Krishna conscious spreading is urgent. And he expresses this urgency in the Bhagavatam, in this verse when he speaks about about the crows and the hamsters, he explains. I wrote this literature. It may have many literary faults, but it was an urgency. It's an urgency to spread this Bhagavatam. Like you have two neighbors and they may speak a different language, but if one house is on fire, the neighbors will come to help with getting the fire out. So we have an urgency and that urgency we must cultivate in our heart. That when I first came, my first meeting with a devotee was Vishnu Goswami. He was an old Gujarati Swami he was from Gujarat, but he from Dwarka, Rajkot, yeah. But he was from there, but he was living in London for many years. That thing came there in contact with our movement. And then he came to Belgium. And I was living at that time in Ghent, near to Ghent, in Flanders in Belgium. That I was a chartered accountant. And somewhere or another I was starting to read Prabhupada's books, but I never met the devotees. I wanted to meet the devotees. And then I got an invitation for a lecture of Vishnu Goswami in a house somewhere. And I went to that house with my tie and suit. I was ringing at the door, and then the devotee came, opened the door. Bhakti Gustav, I learned later. I asked him, is the lecture here? And he said, yes, please come in. And he was showing you going to the living, so I was going into the living, and there I saw these devotees. Something very strange. They were dressed in bed sheets. And they had such a tusk of hair at the end. And then there was some flowers. Of course, that was an altar with Kaunitai, but deities were not in my frame of reference. And I saw the Swami sitting there, and the Swami looked at me and he said, maybe you can leave your shoes outside. So I went outside, came in again, and then they started to chant this exotic chants. I don't know what they were chanting, but my mind told me, it's too strange, you should go out here. Some way or other I tolerated, and then after the chanting was finished, the Swami started to read from a book. He was reading straight from Srimad Bhagavatam, 3rd canto, and there is a chapter in the 3rd canto which is called the movements of the living entities. And there, the living entity in the womb is described, who is praying to Krishna that I'm in trouble. So after that lecture, I understood I'm in trouble. that I understood. And next day I started to chant 12 rounds. And a few days later, 16. I felt the urgency. Because I'd already read the entire Krishna book. So I knew about the philosophy. But meeting this devotee, that brought this urgency in me. And that urgency is important. If we don't have that urgency, then it will go slow. And Krishna is in our heart and said, okay, you want to relax? Take your time. I'm time, Krishna says. I've time. No problem. But if you feel the urgency, Krishna will help you. That urgency is important. And that urgency grows by seeing the miseries around us. This is not a place to stay. This is not our home. If one makes spiritual advancement and gets a little mercy of Krishna, you understand that the attachment from this world becomes more easy. But that urgency must be there. And that urgency is explained by Prabhupada. He said, we should chant like a baby is crying for the mother. That's urgency. And the baby wants the mother. It's focused, very focused. Sometimes the baby is crying and there may be thousands of people to help the baby, but the baby wants the mother. Even the father is many times at loss, cannot help the baby. The baby wants the mother. So that is urgency. And that urgency brings focus. And it has an aspect of feeling helpless. Without Krishna I cannot make it. Please help me, Krishna. So that urgency is very important. But my first sense of urgency was during that first meeting. But it's important to cultivate that urgency. If you think everything is alright, Krishna say, okay, let me know if you need me again. I'm there for you. That urgency is, thank you for bringing that up and for reminding me. Hare Krishna. But I think we will stop here. Time is over. Thank you very much. Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki Prabhupada ki
His Holiness Bhakti Prabhava Swami Maharaj ki